Everyone is moving to Phoenix right now. You're seeing it everywhere. Headlines, YouTube videos, people relocating from California, Washington, Chicago. But what no one is really talking about are those places that people are quietly packing up and leaving. And here's the part that should get your attention. Some of these neighborhoods were the exact same neighborhoods that people were fighting over just 2 and 3 years ago. Multiple offers, waiving inspections, paying way over the asking price. And now people are getting in their cars, loading up their moving trucks, and heading elsewhere. So if you're thinking about relocating to Phoenix or Scottsdale, this video is going to be one of the most important videos that you can watch. Because today, I'm not just telling you about the places people are leaving. I'm going to break down why they're leaving, what changed, what most buyers get wrong when they move here, and most importantly, where they're going instead so you don't make the same mistake. Now, before we jump into any specific neighborhoods, I want to make one thing very clear. This is not a "these areas are bad" video. Phoenix is a massive metro area, and there are incredible communities all across the valley. But what we're seeing right now is a shift in behavior. And that shift is coming from the people who have already made the move. And they've lived here for a year or two. And then they realized something didn't line up with what they expected. And that is the key. Because most people don't leave because something's terrible. They leave because something is off. Something doesn't match their lifestyle, their expectations, or how they actually live their day-to-day life. So as we go through this, I want you to listen less as a tourist and more like someone imagining their actual day-to-day life. Let's start with downtown Phoenix. Now, if you're moving from a major city, this is usually one of the first places that's gonna catch your eye. You've got high-rise condos, restaurants, nightlife, proximity to work, and what appears to be a walkable lifestyle. On paper, it checks a lot of boxes. And for some people, it absolutely works. But here's where things start to shift. A lot of people come out here expecting something closer to Chicago or San Diego, or even an Austin-type downtown lifestyle. They expect to be able to walk everywhere. They expect constant activity. They expect that work, live, play environment. And while downtown Phoenix is improving, it's not quite there yet, at least in the way people imagine. So what ends up happening is this. People move in, they get settled, and after a few months, they realize they are still driving most places. They are not using the amenities as much as they thought. And depending on the exact area, there are some quality of life trade-offs that they didn't anticipate. Now, here's the important part. It is not that downtown Phoenix is bad. It's that the expectations were set too high. And when your expectations don't match your reality, that's when people start looking elsewhere. I also want to note something else about the downtown Phoenix area when it comes to jobs. Unlike many other downtown cities, the downtown Phoenix area is not where most people go for their job. We have multiple different employment quarters all across the valley. So this is something that you really need to pay attention to. You might be coming here thinking, well, I'll live in downtown Phoenix because that's where I'll end up working, and you might not end up working there at all. Okay, so now that's lifestyle. But the next shift we're seeing is one that's being driven by numbers. So let's talk about Chandler and Gilbert. These areas are still extremely desirable. Great schools, clean communities, and newer homes. But certain parts, especially where there's been a lot of new construction, are starting to feel different. Over the past few years, builders went all in. New communities, new phases, more inventory hitting the market. And when inventory increases, something important changes. Buyers have options. And when buyers have options, urgency disappears. And when urgency disappears, people start thinking more critically about what they're buying. We're starting to see buyers look around and realize, wait a second, there are multiple homes that are exactly like this one. Why am I paying this price if I have a choice? That shift alone is enough to change behavior. And when people feel like they have overpaid or even just didn't get the best deal, they start looking elsewhere. Now let's talk about one that surprises a lot of people, the far West Valley. Places like Buckeye and parts of Goodyear. These areas exploded, mostly due to their affordability. You could get more house, more space, and newer construction for less money. And that sounds great until you actually live there. Because what most people didn't fully account for is the distance. We're talking about longer commutes, fewer nearby amenities in certain pockets, and slower development in some areas that people weren't expecting. At first, it feels like a great trade-off, but over time, that daily drive, that extra time in the car, that lack of convenience, it starts to wear on people. And eventually, a lot of them decide they would rather sacrifice a little space to gain back that time, convenience, and accessibility. And if you're starting to notice a pattern here, you're right, because the next one ties everything together. Let's talk about those HOA-heavy master plan communities. Phoenix, has a lot of them. And when you first see them, they are incredibly appealing. Everything looks clean, organized, polished. You've got amenities, pools, parks. It feels easy. But over time, some buyers start to feel boxed in. HOA fees can increase. Rules can start to feel restrictive. And the neighborhood can start to feel a little too uniform. Now, for some people, that is exactly what they want. But for others, especially those coming from areas that have a lot more flexibility, it becomes a frustration. And that's when they start looking for those older neighborhoods, larger lots, and places with fewer restrictions. Now let's talk about North Scottsdale. This one is all about expectations versus reality. North Scottsdale is beautiful, quiet, high-end, but it is also spread out, very car-dependent, and much more lifestyle-specific than many people realize. A lot of people move there expecting energy, walkability, and activity. What they actually get is privacy, space, and quiet. And again, neither one of them is wrong. But if your expectations don't match what you're going to get, that's when people decide to move. You also have to take into account how different places in the North Scottsdale area can actually feel. Because if you live in the McCormick Ranch area of North Scottsdale, you're gonna have one type of lifestyle. But if you live in the Desert Mountain area of North Scottsdale, that's a completely different lifestyle. So if North Scottsdale is a place you really wanna be in, you have to drill way down into the individual neighborhoods so that your expectations will match what your lifestyle actually is. So where are people going instead? We are seeing a very clear shift. People are prioritizing location over size, convenience over newness, and lifestyle over square footage. They're moving towards places like Arcadia in North Central Phoenix, parts of Scottsdale, and areas closer where they actually like to spend time. Because what most people eventually realize is this: Phoenix is not a place where you want to spend your life driving, and where you live directly impacts your daily quality of life. The people who are the happiest living in Phoenix are not the ones who bought the biggest house or the newest house or even the best deal. They are the ones who chose the right location for how they actually live. That's it. Now, if you want to see some of those neighborhoods that you should probably stay away from, you're going to want to watch this video. As always, I thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.